Welcome into the bunker of General Gridiron, field marshal of football forecasting. We're about to map out the way this college football weekend is gonna go. Will your favorite team be marching to victory? Or will the enemy be taking your battle flag? 11, 11, and 11. This football Saturday is November 11th, also known as Armistice Day, and when we salute America's veterans. 11 also marks the 11th weekend of college football, so let's get after it. Grab that helmet and man those battle stations. We're ready for another round of General Gridiron's football foretelling. Michigan State at Ohio State. Sparty packs his suitcase for a business trip to the shoe. MSU's head honcho already said this week his team has a lot to lose if they can't pick up the road win in Columbus. The urban cowboy is just glad to get his Bronco Busters back in the saddle after they were lassoed in Iowa City last Saturday. Dreams of another college football playoff appearance have likely gone up in smoke for the Ohioans, but there remains a very small CFP ember aglow in the fire, and a win is a must for both teams. The Generals victor? Ohio State. Florida State at Clemson. Primetime's name came into conversation after the Tigers' number 21, Ray McLeod, channeled his inner Dion and ran a punt back against the pack. Although a senior on the 1988 FSU team that traveled to Death Valley and beat a number 3 Clemson team with the famous punt-rooski play, Leroy Butler was actually the one that raced down the sideline and helped the Noles escape. By the way, number 2 in Garnet and Gold did have a 76-yard punt return for TD in that famous game. Butler Sanders and even CU's Rodney Williams aren't available for the 2017 rematch, where FSU is looking for any kind of salvation for what's been a horrible season. But it won't come this day. The Generals victor? Clemson. Alabama at Mississippi State. Bells will be ringing, but it won't be Silent Night. It'll be Saturday night at Davis-Wade Stadium, and those dressed in maroon and white will be clanging cowbells until Don Henley starts belting out more holiday tunes in a few weeks. Jolly old St. Nick Saban rides his sleigh west on US 82 with the hope of delivering lumps of coal to the bully faithful. His pachyderms aren't in the giving mood this time of year, so a lopsided loss over the Dogs will be the perfect stocking stuffer. No Christmas miracle here. The Tide takes care of business in front of Jolly Elf Mullen and his pups. The Generals victor? Alabama. TCU at Oklahoma. Perhaps what most insiders thought prior to the season will come to fruition. These two teams just might be the cream of the crop and will rise to the first ever Big 12 championship game in early December. But it won't help either's case to suffer another conference setback during this dandy in Norman. With a little help, either one of these two powerhouses could end up in Arlington with the conference banner, or better yet, sneak into the CFP. The Toads will turn up the heat on the home team and come out looking like a contender. The Generals victor? TCU. Washington State at Utah. The Utes just found out starting safety Marquise Blair is out for the rest of the year with an injury. Bad news for the U of U, good news for Wazoo. Cougar gunslinger Luke Falk needs all the breaks he can get if he expects to invade Rice-Eccles Stadium and emerge with a win. Kyle Whittingham may be one of the least appreciated head coaches in college football. He's done wonders in Salt Lake City, but his 2017 battalion is missing key field colonels. The lawyer on the other side of the field is pretty good in the courtroom of college football, and he'll win his case this day over Mr. Whittingham. The Generals victor? Washington State. This week, it's more than football. We salute our veterans who've worn the uniform of our country in times of war and peace. Thank y'all for your service. Don't you go anywhere. General Gridiron will be right back with a scoop on the Deep South's oldest rivalry and Catholics versus convicts.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home just in case. Why would you do that?
Probably okay isn't okay. Call a cab, a car, or a friend.
Good choice.
Howdy, soldiers. This is General Gridiron back with you. Each week, this fabulous football forecast is heard on some of the finest radio stations all over the region that's currently chock full of beautiful trees with all of their autumn glory. I love this time of year. Those stations include in Thibodaux, Louisiana, KTIB AM 640 and 103.7 FM, Lanyap 103.7, more of what you want. And in Paris, Texas, KFYN FM 104.3, The River. We appreciate all of our radio affiliates. Now, let's get back into the football fight. Iowa at Wisconsin. Herky the Hawk is back to flying high. Wins over a top 10 Ohio State can put a little pep in your step, or whatever birds do. Can the black and gold back that up with a win over an unbeaten Bucky Badger bunch? Wisconsin isn't getting a lot of love for their perfect start, although they could be the only Big Ten team to end up playing in January. Jump around will be a little on the edge as the UW students need to preserve their energy for a tilt that'll come down to the wire. The Generals victor, the Brass Bull Heartland Trophy goes to Wisconsin. Georgia at Auburn. The Deep South's oldest rivalry is renewed on the Plains, where scores of Georgia football teams have ventured to and returned as conference champions. Kirby Smart's #1 ankle biters have already made reservations in Atlanta for the SEC championship game. They just want to keep the fun going to return to Mercedes-Benz Stadium for a natty appearance on January 8th. Albie will show up at Jordan-Hare with a countermeasure to throw the dogs off course. But it won't work. The Generals victor, Georgia in a classic. USC at Colorado. The mountains around Boulder are getting ready for a nice winter, and skiers are already descending into the quaint college town, gearing up to slalom right through to spring. But hang on to your poles. The Buffs have one more home game at Folsom Field, and it's a big one. Beat the perennial powerhouse known as Southern Cal, and CU gets bowl eligible, which has only happened once in the past decade. The Trojans ride into mile-high country with a chance to likely close out the Pac-12 South title with a win. Then they can put their snow boots on and go downhill. The Generals victor, USC. Oklahoma State at Iowa State. The Big 12, where one team gets fame and glory only to lose it to another team, then get it back. Well, that doesn't include the Rock Chalkers. The unpredictable storm spinning out of the Iowa countryside needs to keep winning, or it'll be your typical season in corn country. The Mullet Man and his pokes will do their dangdest to keep the Cardinal and Gold Gritters off the scoreboard. The question is, how well will OSU QB Mason Rudolph perform in Jack Trice? Well, quite well. The Generals victor, Oklahoma State. Notre Dame at Miami. Catholics versus convicts meets the 21st century. Back in the glory days of the 1980s, when Holtz headed up the Choir Boys and Jimmy Johnson was in charge on South Beach, this game was among the biggest on the college football slate. Thanks to improved football programs at both private schools, a win here will help either ND or the U keep marching to the playoff. The Irish have a formidable football attitude this season, but the U has had their own Irish luck. When this one winds down, the Hard Rock will be a-rockin' with the Canes victory. The Generals victor, Miami. We've already looked at the weekend's heart-pounding matchups, but hang on to your helmet. There's more of the show coming up. We'll be back in a second to wrap up this week's General Gridiron with our rapid-fire picks.
Recently, our country has witnessed catastrophic devastation. Hurricanes and flooding have upended lives and livelihoods.
Across this great country, Americans have answered the call.
That special calling that compels us, when others are down, to step up and do whatever it takes.
America's at her best when, against all odds, we come together and lift each other up.
Please donate to oneamericaappeal.org. America needs you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is General Gridiron back with you. We've already maneuvered through this week's lineup of frontline college football showdowns. Now, it's time to fix your bayonet and storm the field with our rapid-fire football forecast. LSU licks Arkansas. Virginia Tech downs Georgia Tech. West Virginia kills Kansas State. Missouri outduels Tennessee. Penn State beats Rutgers. Fresno State bites Hawaii. Texas steps on Kansas. NC State nips Boston College. Northwestern quiets Purdue's engine. South Carolina spurs Florida. Ole Miss fillets Louisiana Lafayette. Wake Forest wows Syracuse. Texas Tech outdraws Baylor. Arizona State all the way against UCLA. Michigan melts Maryland. Jacksonville State over UT Martin. Virginia vexes Louisville. Arizona aggravates Oregon State. Kentucky scratches Vanderbilt. And Texas A&M nukes New Mexico. Well, troops, you can now put your swords back in their scabbards. We're all out of picks on this week's edition of General Gridiron. We'll be back again next week. Same General Gridiron time, same General Gridiron station. So don't forget to tune us in on the radio, Facebook, and YouTube TV. And please don't forget to tell your friends all about the show. Simply search for General Gridiron. This is John Rawl, the General of Gridiron Glory, thanking you for letting me be a part of your Veterans Day weekend. General Gridiron is a production of CRM Sports. For more, log on to crmsports.com.
That'll be all.